Alright guys, today something a little bit different. This is episode 3 of my 3-pedal live rig. If you haven't seen any of this series before, it's a series where I'm sort of anticipating playing live maybe next year, depending on when I can find someone to play with. And these are little sort of thought experiments, you know, what sort of gig would it be, where would it be, what rig would I want, and what sort of music would I be playing, etc. So far it's been all blues based, it's been quite small rigs, 3 pedals really, and nothing too complicated. Today I'm going for something a bit out of my comfort zone, and so I'm not sure, you know, how fantastic it's going to sound. I've really been experimenting. I've had about 10 days off with some poorly hands. Maybe I've been playing too much, and I've also been doing some construction stuff around the house and the garden. So I apologise if anyone noticed that I wasn't here for about a couple of weeks nearly. But just slowly picking up the playing again. So I didn't want to go too mad with any blues playing today. And instead I've gone for something a little bit different. Today we've got 5 pedals. So the series, the idea was it was 3 to 5 pedals, and we've got 2 amplifiers. So we're only going to use one guitar today. That's the Fender Broadcaster, which is really, I imagine for live playing would be my number 1 guitar. You know, I love playing it. It's simple. It can do almost anything that I would ask of it personally. So in that sense, it's the perfect live guitar for me. So let's just kick off by hearing the 2 amps alone. As is often the case when you're doing this sort of thing, each individual amp won't sound very impressive by itself. And even then when you put them together, you know, you've got to leave space for the pedals to sort of build the sound. So, you know, it's not an amazing sound that I've sort of created here, I don't think. You know, if I was just going to play with the amps and no pedals, that I would definitely dial it differently and create something a little bit bigger. But let's hear the 2 amps separately. I'll come back in a second and we'll get onto the first pedal. Okay, let's quickly hear both amps together. I decided to use these 2 amps because obviously they're very different from each other. So the Friedman Dirty Shirley is a sort of Marshall JTM 45 kind of sound, and it's got no reverb. So in terms of playing it alone, any amp with no reverb is not really my favourite, to be honest with you. Or the more I'm sort of exploring and developing my own taste and style, no reverb amps don't really suit me. I need that comfort blanket, you know, that reverb provides. So the Bloomfield Drive next to it gives it that more American sound, that bit of, you know, lushness with the reverb and everything. And together they sort of fill in some of the gaps of each other. You know, the Bloomfield Drive is warm, and it's quite full and rich in the low and low mids, and then the Dirty Shirley has a bit more upper mids, and it's just you know, it's got that more Marshall sort of focus to it. So let's hear them together. Okay, now this gig in my mind is not really a blues gig. It's more of pop, rock, and ambient, if that makes sense. You know, even if when I join a band, you know, not everyone's going to want to play blues all the time necessarily. It just depends. So it's fun to sort of imagine me just having to do mostly backing guitar and sort of creating a you know, an ambient guitar sound. So the first pedal I've gone for is a tremolo. It's a harmonic tremolo by Jam. It's the Harmonious Monk. And I've got it set up quite slow and wavy, and it sort of creates a sustain, and it gives an atmosphere and sort of starts to develop the texture of the sound, which I really enjoy. Okay, here's where we're really going to develop the style for the night though. This pedal is probably the most important part of this rig. It's the Strymon Volante, which is sort of magnetic tape echo delay. It's not there to be a pristine, clean delay. It's not there to just create a simple slapback effect. I've gone pretty crazy here with the way this sounds. Now, it might end up that in rehearsal or something with a band, this sound could just be too much and I would dial it back. But it's been fun to keep it on this pretty crazy, warpy. The thing is, in the room, and I haven't really captured this because I haven't gone crazy in terms of panning sounds left and right, and I didn't use any room amps. But in the room, this is a true stereo delay, so you're getting this sort of back and forth effect in the room. I don't think it's quite captured it, but it's a pretty awesome, magnificent sound, really. Maybe a little bit too much, a little bit chaotic, but it's fun. Let's hear it. Okay, it's time to sort of start winding up the sound, and the next pedal I've chosen is, in a sort of irrelevant way in this video, it's a Dumble style pedal called the Steel String from Vertex Effects. Now, the Steel String, I think is the name of a Dumble amp, maybe the Steel String Singer, which they didn't make many of those, maybe about 10. I think Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Mayer are famous for using them. These are high headroom amps. Amazing cleans, massive sounds. So this pedal, I've been using it recently. I haven't put it in a video yet, but I'm going to do a standalone video around it because it's called a clean drive. And what I really like about it is it gets an edge of breakup sound and also quite a large headroom sound, but it does add thickness, but it doesn't add the distortion-y fuzz element of an overdrive pedal, and it just has a sound all of its own. So in this context, taking the tremolo and then adding also back in the Strymon Volante, you start to feel that this sound could grow and swell, and then with this high headroom sound, it just lifts both amps. So let's hear that. Okay, the next pedal is one that is going to create, for me, in this video, the sort of unique style, I think. While the steel string gave nice big headroom and a slightly lusher, thicker sound and a bit more sustain and an edge of breakup when needed, this is going to add a completely opposite dimension. This fuzz pedal is a real vintage fuzz face type from Jext Telez, and it's got beautiful sort of Velcro grippiness, big sound. And what's fantastic about it for a germanium fuzz is it's not got wallowy bottom end in it. Basically, it's a bit more focused. The lower end is much tighter than you'd expect. And it's so effective with the guitar's volume. Like, you know, all the vintage fuzz pedals that I use really are like that. But they all have their own thing. And this one can really clean up and really massively get bigger. So in this little clip, you'll hear it from really low down on the volume, and then I'll wind it up and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've shown you 4 of the pedals so far. Now let's hear both the amps, the steel stringer, the Telez, the Volante, and the Harmonious monk together. Feel that big sort of sound. And then I'm just going to play around for a minute. You know, you'll see up on the screen what I'm doing. And then we'll come back for the 5th pedal in a minute. Okay, let's add in the fifth and final pedal. This is a clone. This is the Mythos Mjolnir, and I've chosen it because, again, it has this high headroom feeling to it. It's a little bit more involved than the steel string, as in it sort of affects your sound a bit more, but it's still really transparent. In this context, it gives you a bit more of that soaring sound, but with a little bit more, not distortion, that's the wrong word, but, you know, overdrive. You can feel the hair on the end, like sort of edge of it, but it's not really like a real full breakup or full fuzzy tone, and I think it just works really well with these other pedals. You know, it's a bit of a challenge to sort of stack 4 or 5 pedals together. We're going to have a go at it in a minute, but let's just hear the Mjolnir with a few of the other pedals, and I'll come back in a second. Okay, so I thought it'd be interesting just to hear the Mjolnir individually with the Friedman and then the Bloomfield Drive. Then we'll put the amps back together and I'll start adding in the pedals one by one, and you'll hear a bit of, you know, combination sort of stuff going on, and really just give you an idea of what this rig could do. And yeah, when I come back, I want to tell you about my giveaway if you don't know about it already. So I think there are some really great combinations within that. As I said at the beginning, I'm really out of my comfort zone here. This is not a sort of sound that I've really concentrated on too much, although I really enjoy it. It's different from the really singular sort of goosebump moment I get when just one pedal or two pedals together give me that real blues sound that I've got in my head, from years of listening to the blues. This is a bit more, it's really, a completely other end of the spectrum for me anyway. Obviously, if you know how to use MIDI, you can go far more interesting than this. But I hope you've seen that I'm trying to explore and create new stuff. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's the sort of rig where you can get lost for quite a long time just sort of playing around and getting immersed in, some chords and things. It's really enjoyable. If you've got a big tape echo delay type thing like the Volante, then you probably know what I mean. And Strymon make really high-end products, so it's not a surprise that together all this rig just, I think it had a good quality sound. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Give me 1 second. Talking of clones, I'm giving away this Horsebreaker pedal by Cherryatone, which is a really high quality double-sided overdrive. The horse is the clone, and the breaker is a blues breaker. Now, I've done a video about this. It was actually a 2-part video. I'll link the first one up here. And this matches really a lot of the other pedals of both types that I've got. So when I hit 3,500 subs, I'm giving this away to a subscriber. You need to subscribe to the channel publicly. That you can find that in your YouTube settings. If you can't figure it out, ask me down in the comments. And yeah, when I hit 3,500 subs, I'll send this anywhere in the world. So yeah, take part if you like. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.